going to give this one back to you. So if you want to, make sure, if you ever want to go back and, review this particular one, just go back to Google Classroom October 14th. It'll be there. So give an example of a quadratic function whose graph would result in a parabola that is wide, right? Points down, so a has to be negative, and it has a y-intercept of 0, 4. Be specific. So if you want to go f of x, right, that's fine, but that needs to be wide, so it has to be a decimal or a fraction, right, that is not going to be 1 point anything or greater than 1. So you could go negative 1/2 x squared. That will take care of these two things, and then the y-intercept, you can just slap that on like that. Another option would be y is equal to negative 0.02 x squared plus 501x, right? That this one really doesn't matter, plus 4, right? So wide, points down, y-intercept. So you get 1 mark for having all of those things in the correct, written the correct way. Okay. Describe the parabola would be created with an equation like this. The width would be narrow because a is greater than 1. Okay, 1.5 is the value of a. Opens up because a is positive. The y-intercept is 0, negative 17.25. Right? We know it's in general form, so that gives us a y-intercept. Number of x-intercepts, you probably would graph this. And, oh, I have the wrong key, right? Oh, no, it's okay. How many x-intercepts? 2? Points up. Yeah, 2 x-intercepts. And I'll give you a little secret here. If a is positive and your y-intercept is negative, right? You probably will have 2 x-intercepts. On the other hand, if a is negative and your y-intercept is positive, like if they have opposite signs, you will have 2 x-intercepts. Think about it. If your y-intercept is negative, but you're pointing up, right? That means that the curve does go below the x-axis and then back up, right? So if the signs are opposite, you are getting 2 x-intercepts. Given the quadratic equation, answer the following. So I don't know. I feel like I've done this already, so I'm just going to give you what you're supposed to get. Okay, so that is the vertex, and then you would go second trace. In this case, it's a max, right? Because we know it's pointing down, so there's a max up there. So that's what you should be getting exactly. If you have a rounding mistake, just take off half a mark. I would actually make the vertex worth 1 mark. Okay, so I'm going to put the marks down the side there so you know. The x-intercept, there are 2. So one of them is this, and the other one is 4.940. And I used this. So somewhere you should have the keystrokes. If not, we will take off half a mark at the bottom, okay? And so this one I will actually make worth 2 marks today because you had to perform 2 second trace operations there. The y-intercept, that's just going to be worth half a mark because you can just read it off the graphs, right? So 0.5 for that one. Axis of symmetry, same thing. You can just read, so this is 0.5. And I would say this, if your vertex is wrong, but you're using that x value here, you would still get the half mark. Min max, right? There's a max, so y is equal to 3548, and that is an equation, right? Also half a mark for that. And then the range, that one is, because it's pointing down, y is less than or equal to 3548. You could have waited with this after graphing, right? If that helps you. Alternatively, this is the other way, right? The interval notation. This is the greater value, this is the smallest, right? And so for range, I'll give you 1 there. And then the values of A, B, and C. No, I'm not asking you for A, B, and C here. I'm asking you for A, B, and C here, right? That value right there is A. This value right there is B. And this is C. And B or C could be 0, okay? Very important thing to note. So this will be negative 4.9. This would be 19.2. And this would be 15. Okay, so 1.5 I'll give you there. I'll give you half a mark for each correct. If the sign is wrong, it's wrong. Okay, so then you lose half a mark. So we'll give you half a mark for each entry there. And then graphing it, the fun part. So I'm going to go -1 here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that works for me. Okay, so I'm going to label every other one. Call this X, call that Y. And then for my Y, I need to make sure 35 fits in. And my y-intercept is 15, so they're both okay. So I'll make this 10, 20, 30, 40, right? So I'm going up by 10. Just do one going downward as well, 1 or 2. Okay, and then so the first x-intercept is right here, somewhere in there, negative 0.67, and then 4.95 is almost at 5. That would be out here. The y-intercept is 0.15, that'd be here. And the x-intercept is 213.35, so it's somewhere here. Okay, you should be able to see that parabola appearing. So then you go through those points and through those points, and then you will get, you still have to write down this part. You can go ahead and make these corrections, okay, if using a marker or a pen. So what am I looking for here? Scale is going to be worth 1 mark, okay? Labels is also going to be worth 1 mark. So that by that I mean X, Y, equation, all of that, that's going to be worth a full mark. What else did I give you that checklist? Do you remember? What else would I have marked? X-intercept, that's right. Intercepts and vertex, yes. So for these, I would give you 1 as well. Because you already solved for them, now you just need to transfer them, right? If you have your proper scale, if you've labeled everything, and then put the points where they belong, you're good to go. So you know how that one, there's 1.5 at the top here, you see this? Scratch that. We're going to make that worth 3 marks. So let's see, let's add up question 3 here so you can see for yourself. So 1 and 2, that's 3, 4, 5, and this is 2, right? So 7 for that part plus 3. So question 3 is worth 10 marks. How's that? It is, yeah, right? You did a lot of work to make that happen, right? So worth 10 marks, just that question 3. So let's combine that with 2 marks and 1 mark, right, for question 2 and 1. So this page is worth 13, just this page, if you combine what you got above it. Combine that, add it up, put a mark out of 13. And remember, if it's 12.5, 13, 11.5, 10, oh wait, that's a lot of jump. But if it's 10.5 or 10, 10.5 or 11, just go with whatever you feel like you got, and I'll figure out the rest, okay? Most of the time I side on your side because ACs is all about learning, getting ready for tests and whatnot. So next, back side. parabola goes through those 2 points. Calculate the axis of symmetry. You should have recognized, okay, these points are, right, they're looking at each other. They're on opposite sides of the parabola, same height. So I can find the middle, the axis of symmetry, using these 2 x values, right? So x1, x2. So the axis of symmetry is negative 17 plus 24 divided by 2. And that gives me 7 over 2, which is 3.5. So the axis symmetry is just 3.5. 1 mark for that. Not too bad, right? Describe a situation when a parabola will have 2 x-intercepts. You may use a diagram as part of the explanation. Be specific. So you could say, right, when the vertex is above, right, you can make that very clear, above the x-axis, and a is negative, right? And if you want the diagram to kind of, right, the vertex is somewhere above, anywhere above, and it's pointing down, right? In that case, you'd have 2 x-intercepts. And the alternative would just be when the vertex is below the x-axis and a is positive, right? Because if the vertex is anywhere below and a is positive, we're doing this, right? So there are your 2 x-intercepts there. So you can kind of use that to state that. And again, if I asked you, it's describe when there would be 1 x-intercept, that is when the vertex is right on the x-axis, right? A does not matter in that case. It wouldn't matter. So 2 marks if you have this statement, and the diagram is optional. You don't have to have that, but just a statement, because there's kind of like 2 components to it, right? Okay, f of x is this. Answer the following. Calculate this algebraically. So really what I want you to do is just simply plug in 5 wherever there is an x. Okay? And so you get 4.85 times 25 plus 15 minus 5. You can actually just calculate that part right there. I would be okay if after this you just give me the answer. If you get 131.25, you're good to go. What did you find in A, right? A point on the parabola. Okay, that is 131.25. I'll give you 1 mark for that and 1 mark for this part. So you found the point of parabola, and that is the specific point. You found that when x is equal to 5, y is equal to 131.25. Okay. A parabola has a minimum y is equal to 7, a y-intercept of 15. How many x-intercepts will it have? Explain. So let's see how that works. I encourage you to do that, right? Just make a little x and y. If the minimum is at 7, so let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in here. That's the minimum. Remember that the equation is just kind of like an imaginary equation, y is equal to 7, and that's the lowest point, right? And the y-intercept is 15, so actually now I'm in trouble, right? But that'll be up here somewhere. So we know that this parabola either does this, right? It goes through there, or it does something like this, right? But in any case, the lowest that it goes to is y is equal to 7, right? And the 15 is right here, 0, 15. So we know that the vertex, we don't know the x value of the vertex, but we do know that, right? That it's 7 is the lowest we get to. So there are no x-intercepts because the vertex is above the x-axis, okay, and it points up. You could say that. You could say that the minimum it gets to is a positive value, which means it doesn't cross the x-axis. And the y-intercept is even greater than the minimum, so that gives me an indication that it's pointing up. Use your own words. Don't leave these ones blank, okay? So what do we have on the back side here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, the back side is worth 6. So 6 and 13, 19, right? 6 the back, 13 for the front. So scratch the 14, right? Scratch that and make sure it's out of 19 total. Remember, it's October 14th. Put that on there.